Welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is going to be episode 47. As always, my name is Zach, and I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey, what's up?
And my best friend, Jake.
This is actually a redo, but how's everybody doing tonight?
They weren't going to know, Jake.
It is a redo because we started this earlier. Hannah and I are on vacation. We are gone. We're out of the state. Jake is back home. And usually we watch the show together, and then we record all with our quote studio setup or whatever. Now we're recording over an app that we use to interview our guests, so the quality is not going to be as good because we're not using our mics or the whole setup. So again, forgive us, but we wanted to get a podcast up tonight, basically. And our dogs are with us on vacation, and they were in the same room.
There's only 2 rooms in the whole house.
Yeah, and we started recording, and one of our dogs, once he heard us talking a whole lot, he started making a whole bunch of noise. So we moved them as far away as we could, and we had to restart all this. So, Jake, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I appreciate that. Let's be clear about one thing, is that this won't be the last time you guys go on vacation and don't take me.
That's right, because I'm going on another vacation in August, and then he and I are both leaving. We're going to the other side of the country in October.
I'll just have you guys know, that's just downright sorry.
I can't help it.
And if I'm going to continue this podcast any longer, I have to know that you know what I am.
Okay,
we know what you are, but we are not going to stop taking our vacations.
If I don't go to Disney World, the next time you guys go,
well, we don't. First of all, don't act like we go to Disney World all the time or anything.
I've been twice, and I didn't really enjoy it either time.
But also, she doesn't like rides.
I don't like theme parks. So
yeah, why would she enjoy it?
Why? It's not a thing that I'm trying to get to.
Well, maybe try taking me next time, because you never know. You never know what kind of a good time you can have with a guy like me. And that goes for both of you.
Well, Jake, since you're so bent on going to Disney World, why don't you book the trip and we'll see if we want to come with you?
Jake, I've been to theme parks with you.
Where did we go?
We've been to Six Flags a bunch.
Yeah, but it ain't no Disney World.
We should go to Dollywood.
Yeah, it ain't no Disney World. That's true.
Hey, but real quick, so I made an announcement specifically on the last time we did an Instagram Live, not on a Wednesday night, when we were playing Rocket League, as a matter of fact. Zach, do you remember that?
Yeah, I was there.
And and I made an announcement that I was officially going on a dating hiatus. No. Right? Yeah. Do we remember that?
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, I have to clarify. I have to make sure.
I like that also you're preempting these questions like we didn't just spend 15 minutes in here talking before we started recording about all of this.
Well, not only are you guys invested in it, there are people who listen to this podcast who are invested in my dating life. And we've actually been asked if I am bothered by all the questions I get about that. And I would just reiterate, I'm not bothered. I'm flattered that people care. It's pretty bizarre, but that my dating life is that interesting. But, you can make a commitment like that, right? You can make a commitment that, you know what, I'm done for a while. I'm just going to focus on me, myself, and Irene, and have a good summer. And you never expect for just a drop-dead gorgeous individual to drop into your Facebook, send you a friend request, and like your profile picture all at once. And, I'm not a guy. I told you guys this. Like you said,
Zach, you're not a guy?
No. I'm not a guy who is going to drop into DMs. It's not my style. There's too many creeps out there who have ruined it for guys like me, and honestly for guys like you, Zach. And
it's fine. I don't need to do that.
And so
he's taken care of.
But I asked myself, does this possibly give me permission to drop into her DMs? And I did. I did it, and she liked it, and we exchanged phone numbers. So there's the latest update. I'm not true to my word. And
well, we knew that when you said it.
Well, you have said multiple occasions that you were going to take a dating hiatus, and then the following week you would tell us that you have a date with someone.
And Hannah, I very much mean to. I very much intend to, but,
it's them darn pretty girls.
I mean, they're gorgeous. Bruno Mars said it best, that there are beautiful girls all over the world. And I'm not.
Was that Bruno Mars or was that Sean Kingston?
That's Bruno Mars.
That is
Sean
Bruno
Kingston
Mars.
That's Bruno Mars.
But he had a song about beautiful girls.
If we're gonna list everyone who's ever sang a song about beautiful girls, we'll be here all night long. But before we get into the finale tonight, which we're gonna have a lot to talk about, if you haven't listened to our Frank Sweeney interview, go do that after you listen to this because we had a ton of fun with him. We've got a lot of really good feedback from that podcast. A lot of people were really excited to hear from him because he's a guy who kind of lays low on social media and things like that. So go listen to that. It was a ton of fun. Maybe we'll see him back, kind of like we saw a few other people back tonight randomly in between commercials. But beyond that, if you're not part of our Patreon, we do a podcast on Patreon exclusively called Redemption House, where we talk about challenge-related things and then sometimes get into a few more things outside the scope of the challenge. But those are exclusive to Patreon, and they also get all of our interviews at least 24 hours in advance on top of some other, perks and things like that. So patreon.com/smashingheadspodcast is where you can find that. We just did a fantasy draft last week with Logan from the Rotten Bananas podcast, and we will be having everyone vote on who had the best teams because it was a 15-round draft, and that was a ton of fun, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from that from our Patreon group, and they really liked it a lot. So we're going to see who won, I guess, the draft. This is weird not having you here, Jake, because I don't know when you're wanting to jump in and when you're not.
Well, and you like looking at me.
That's true.
Yeah.
We make there's a lot of nonverbal communication that happens when we record.
Sometimes I'll give you the claw.
From Liar Liar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to be a part of any of that stuff, patreon.com/smashingheadspodcast. Speaking of, before we get into tonight, thanks for doing that right in the microphone.
I don't know where the microphone is.
It's a computer. It's everywhere.
But no, there has to be a hole for it.
Yeah, there is.
But where is it?
Well, you didn't move regardless. So our Patreon supporters, we like to give them a shout-out whenever we can. We haven't done that in the last couple weeks, so I'm going to hit everybody really quick before we get into tonight's recap. Ashley C., Avonlea, Baker R., Brian M., Caitlin L., Cassandra D. I'm having to skip over some people because they just follow us. They don't actually support us, so you should probably support us. Connor R., Crystal, Dawson I., which is your brother.
Hey, shout out.
Okay, I just did. Dylan G., Greg H., Holly G., JD, Jennifer A., Carrie, or is it Kari? That's Kari, right?
I know it's Carrie, but
I think that one's Kari. Kari S., Katie, Corndog Katie,
God.
Chico, Carrie G., Lisa, Logan H. from Hendrick Files, shout out to him. Mikey G., that's our guy Mikey. Neil D., Nicole B., Neens, Statman Paul, Rebecca E., Robin, Sarah K., Sarah Lynn F., Scott M., Shanna C., Sean A., Shelby U., Tess, and then Tori C. We don't want to say people's last names because we're not sure if everyone's cool with that.
We
but
want to respect your privacy.
We want you to know that we appreciate everything
Well,
that you do.
The first rule of over here at Smashing Heads Podcast is respect confidentiality.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's ever been an established rule.
But we just...
It's a rule I established.
Yeah. We must not have talked to you about that.
Yeah, you must have had all these meetings without me.
We have meetings every week. Sometimes more than once a week.
We certainly go to kickboxing class without you.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Hey, I do have a question about our recap of tonight's episode.
Yes.
Am I finally allowed to read my own notes again?
We'll see.
What do you mean we'll see? I need to know.
I mean, you did it last week. You talked.
No, I didn't. You told me I started to read something. And you're like, "Don't you dare! Don't you do it.
Don't read them verbatim. Listen, I'm not gonna read them this week just because we're not all together and we need to just kind of get through this because there's a lot to get through tonight.
I know.
Let's just jump in because it seemed like it was a lot longer episode to me than just an hour, but not in a bad way.
I think it was just jam-packed full of stuff. I mean, we opened up with a tribunal.
To be fair, Hannah and I had to watch on my iPad through DirecTV's app, and it did pause a few times, and I had to like completely stop and refresh the feed. So we missed a handful of maybe 15-second clips. So Jake, there may be a couple times where I have to get your clarity on a couple things. We got the gist
because
of
while
it.
you were watching it, while you were watching it on an iPad, I was watching it in my mom and stepdad's bedroom. So shout out to them. They were downstairs. No, we were not in bed together.
He told me that they said he could come over and watch it, but he couldn't watch it on the big TV in their living room.
Because they were watching my 600-pound life.
Okay, that's a good excuse.
I wish they kind of would have watched it.
Yeah, it's a good show.
No, the show we watched. And then we could have got their take on it. But anyway, we start off with the tribunal. That's how last week let out. And then basically everyone's having a vote. And TJ's like, you guys know how this works. So at that point, I was like, oh, we're getting an elimination for sure. And
how weird is it that Theo is not overly excited to be in this tribunal?
I think you've played that up a little bit too much.
No, I have.
That was my last note from last week.
He said he's sick and tired. He doesn't want to do another tribunal.
That's weird, man.
Is
that not weird?
Well, no.
I wouldn't be, honestly, I would not be sick and tired of it if I was always in the tribunal like he was.
I mean, you've kind of played up this whole angle for the last, 6 or 7 weeks.
I'm glad that every time I make a very valid, real, and great point, it's just me playing it up.
I like how you gave your own point a ton of, really nice adjectives before you said it.
You don't think it's valid?
You're a really great, super intelligent, very, very smart, thought of by a very sexy-looking man.
Do you know who you sound like in a political office?
Who do I sound like?
You'd sound like Donald Trump.
Great. Yeah, let's get into that. Anyway.
Correct. Hey, hold on a second. It's George W. to you. That's who I sound like.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
That's right.
Theo right away picks Hunter as the person that he's going to call out for the elimination. And then Wes, we knew he wasn't going to pick Hunter, but
I expected Ninja.
I expected Ninja, honestly. But, I mean, from a competitive standpoint, Ninja's never been in one of these finals, and Kara's been in a bunch of them. So I get calling out Kara. And so he calls out Kara. And then Turbo, he could have went either way because, one, he's not dumb enough to try to tie it up whenever there is any sort of money, legitimately on the line.
Yeah.
They don't want to risk that.
And he even said as much that he thinks that Ninja deserves the vote.
Yeah, but if he would have done that, it would have been a 3-way tie, and so there's no point in risking it. So he just picks Hunter.
Yep.
And then Hunter has to choose between Ninja and Kara. He picked Ninja, which honestly, he didn't know what the elimination was going to be, but we did just see Kara have a giant freak out about not taking an IV, and Ninja did.
And being really weak after that.
Yeah, it might have been more beneficial for him to pick Kara. But so we get into, I don't know what the exact name of the elimination was because this is where our feed started screwing up. It was
real quick, the main reason behind, I don't know if you guys remember this, behind him picking Ninja was he wanted to.
He said vets.
The whole thing with the vets, yeah.
Which Wes threw out the window.
It's goofy, right? We get in arguments down here in the South. I hear it all the time with college football teams, right? That we're intended. I don't watch college football, but you hear it all the time. You have to root for an SEC team, and it's no, I don't. It's does that make sense? I can't see your face, so I don't know if you're catching
what I'm... It does not make sense because I only root for the SEC. Are you kidding me?
No. Okay, I get what Jake, I think you worded it kind of funny because me and you
that happens a lot, yeah.
Well, me and you have talked about this before. I think you're on my page as far as we root for our local teams, correct?
Correct.
But you're talking about the people who say, "Oh, well, if the Vols, if that's your team, aren't in it, then I'm rooting for Auburn because they're in the SEC."
So
my dad.
Yeah. So if Alabama ends up in
that's goofy.
If Alabama ends up in the national title game like they do every year, just about against Clemson, there's this logic down here that like, well, we're the SEC, we have to root for Bama. It's like, no, that's.
Oh no, my dad does not do that.
No, if anything, it would make me want to root for Clemson because I would be like, screw Alabama, they're one of our rivals.
Yeah, that's the thing. My dad will root for any of the other SEC teams.
Your dad votes for the teams,
except for Alabama. I mean, that is like, it's traitorous.
Yeah, Jake, I knew what you meant because we've talked about that before. It's just it was worded.
Yeah, it's goofy. I thought that was goofy logic to base your decision off of.
That's similar thinking as like, oh, the Grizzlies are out of the playoffs, so we need to root for
the Pelicans,
the Mavericks, or the Pelicans, or the Spurs, that, or the Rockets. That doesn't. Who cares?
No.
Yeah. So again, he picks Ninja. I think he picked Ninja because he thought he could beat her out of the two of them. But we all know Hunter's not the thinking man in this game.
No.
And by the way, I know you caught this, Jake. Whenever they started, it was called like Follow Tiny or something like that. Am I?
Walk.
That's it.
Take Tiny for a walk.
Yeah, it's something along those lines. So basically, they're strapped behind the monster truck, and whoever can keep walking the furthest, because it's an endurance thing, but obviously it can't be too hard because they just finished.
They just went through.
Yeah, they just finished an insane leg one, and then had another leg coming. And so I know you caught it. The song that was playing whenever they started.
Oh God, man! Shout out to throwback Linkin Park, dude.
I caught it.
From
it started playing, and I looked at Zach, and I was like, "Is this Linkin Park?"
Well, to be fair, I literally just said, "Oh, this is old Linkin Park."
I didn't hear you say that.
I know, but I did.
It was off of the Meteora album,
yeah.
which is my personal favorite of theirs.
Ooh, that's a controversial opinion.
That is definitely my favorite.
That's the last one that I liked. I'll say that.
You know what I thought of when they described this? What this elimination was going to be is, do you remember in X-Men Origins Wolverine?
I don't want to think about that movie.
Everybody remembers that.
Well, Wolverine's girl she can put her hand on people and like control them, like tell them what to do, and they'll do it.
You're not talking.
And she tells Colonel Stryker,
not the Japanese story, not Wolverine, the one that came like 2 years later. You're talking about the first one.
X-Men Origins.
Yeah, which is probably the worst X-Men movie that's ever been made.
But she put, at the end of the movie, she put her hands on his feet and said, walk till you bleed.
When?
And that's what I thought about. And of course, the end of there's like this mid-credit scene where like he's still walking and it's like his toes are popping out of his shoes and they're bleeding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what I thought about because like, it sounds like such a simple concept, but like at the same time, it's like, God, that just is awful, especially after what they've been through.
So here's what happened with us. We're watching it. Our feed freezes right after they start. And then I try to get it to refresh. It boots us out of it. We have to click back in. And then as soon as it picks back up, Hunter just is laying on the ground and it's like eliminated. So I'm assuming he just fell down or let go or something.
Well, he basically... he's having that little confessional session there, and like he's basically saying that like, he wants to keep going, but like his body's just not going to let him. That he's cramping up, like his legs are just done.
We did see that where she was saying something about his leg before they started.
How long did he go before he collapsed? Did it say?
I don't know, but right before he collapsed, he basically looked over at Natalie and he's just like, kill it, do awesome, I'm bowing out, I
mean, that's a respectable way to go.
Yeah.
Gave her a fist bump. And
see, we missed all that.
And what was kind of weird looking was right after he dropped the rope and just kind of fell to the ground, Ninja just kept walking.
Yeah, so we saw that and because I saw it said he was eliminated, but then she was still walking, and I was like, wait, what? Why is she still going?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Yeah, that was the first time it paused. There was one or two other times, but I kind of realized as we went along, every commercial break, I was just going to refresh it, and so that's what I did, and that kind of solved the problem.
For the most part.
Yeah, it's just like when we were streaming for like 15 minutes at a time, it kind of started to screw up. But yeah, that obviously Hunter got eliminated, so he was, what, 6th place overall? Yeah, that would be 6th.
What got me was before the rest of the group finds out which of the two won that elimination, everybody, like Cara and Theo and Turbo and Wes, were all kind of like, they just got a minute to sit down and kind of rest for a while they waited. I don't know if anybody else caught, Cara was sitting down and she was talking about Natalie, and she said F her, and she's like, I really hope that Hunter's the one that comes back. She took a real aggressive turn towards her, and I don't know if there was something that we missed.
Yeah, she started off, like, before that elimination got started, she said, quote, I hope she goes home, she's annoying the...
Yeah, we heard that.
And then...
My note just said, Cara hates Ninja now, in quotes, F her, and then right before Ninja
she came back, and Cara's first words were like...
She called her a broad. She's like, oh, this broad.
Yeah, she said, this broad.
By the way, I just want to make a note. Hannah actually wrote the F word in her notes.
No, I did not. I put...
Fantastic!
I put a capital F and then a dash. But here's my thing. It is not very kind to name call. I do not like name calling. It is very disrespectful. It's not nice. It's not okay.
You get a load of this broad here.
So, I mean, it really left a very sour taste in my mouth that she's calling this other female names in the middle of a huge final, one of the toughest finals this show has ever seen. She is supposed to be like women empowering, and she's calling the only other female here names.
Well, to be fair, Cara is only for women empowerment when it's convenient for her.
It's just weird because, like, it came out of nowhere.
Yes. And I thought maybe we missed something, but, like, we did see it. The first part we heard was, like, she said, oh, she's so annoying. And we were like, what? Like, where did this like, Polly was her partner this whole time?
Yeah.
Like, they were supposed to all be, like, allies. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's something we missed behind the scenes, but...
that does not excuse name calling.
It took a weird turn, and I remember... Like, when we were watching, I was just like, man, did I miss something? Like, what happened to make her be suddenly, like, super aggressive towards Ninja? Because, again, kind of going back to your whole thing, she is all for women empowerment, and last season was the season that Hunter said a lot of very disparaging things about his female partner. And, it's... Again, it was just weird. It was weird to watch it.
We're upsetting a lot of people by taking this stance, by the way.
Who cares? Like, it was weird.
If it upsets someone to hear me say it is wrong to name call, then they are on the wrong side
of the law.
God.
I mean, if you support name calling and being hostile towards other people, you're wrong in every way, shape, and form. I don't care what you say, how you try to spin it or argue it. Name calling is not kind. So if you're not going to be kind, you're just going to be wrong.
Han, you may be public enemy number one after tonight.
I don't care. Let it happen.
For a certain group of individuals.
Let it happen.
Am I right, Zach?
It's not okay to name call.
Yeah, good one. They have to sleep in the pain locker.
The pain train.
Well, yeah, I emailed Wes last week because I was just curious how far of a drive it was in the pain locker before they got started on the final, and he said it wasn't too bad, but it was about an hour and a half worth of driving before they got to the first part of the final. So it wasn't something that was like right in their backyard from where they were staying, you know?
But it didn't take them all day to get there.
No. But we get into the next part after they sleep, which it doesn't look like they sleep very well. They're all kind of bundled up. Apparently it's cold. And the the door just closes and the truck starts driving, and they get out. It's early in the morning. Nobody's eating. TJ's there, and that's when we find out that trivia is the next part of the final. And it's a different take on trivia, which a lot of people were kind of annoyed or just confused why we hadn't had any trivia so far this season.
Yeah.
Because that's TJ's like favorite part.
The trivia in the elimination with Kyle and Bear.
That's not really the same. Like TJ's favorite daily is when he gets to make people look like an idiot for not knowing like bananas. They're like, "What's the national language of Australia?" And he's like, Dutch." And he's like, "No." And,
I forgot about that one.
So it was weird but we did kind of get to see it. Basically, it was a different take on trivia. There was an A, B, and C circle.
You had to stand in the one you thought was right.
Yeah, he'd ask a question, multiple choice. You stood in the one he thought.
It was geography.
Yeah, it was geography themed, but if you get it wrong, you're eliminated. There's no second chances. And so...
The winner gets a 1 mile advantage.
Yeah, they get a 1 mile advantage, which at that point, did he say it was in a dune buggy or was that after?
Yeah, he said there's a 1 mile head start. Well... I think so.
I don't think he did. I think the dune buggy came after they won. But anyway, that's not really important. But the first question, Ninja's out right away. Like, everyone goes to one place and she goes to another one. And I think it was, like, what cities, Mumbai and, like, 2 other cities are in this country. And she went Bangladesh, and the correct answer was India. And so she's out right away.
Mm.
And then question 2.
Question 2 was, what was the longest river in the world? And it was like the Amazon, the Nile, or the Mississippi. And
the Nile.
I was surprised how many people got this wrong. I think people just assume Amazon because that's like a word you hear more often. But, I mean, we knew it was the Nile.
I thought it was common knowledge to know that the Nile was the longest. But Cara, I think she guessed at this one. Because she thought that, I don't know, she was just making a lot of commentary while she was standing there. And then she ended up getting it right, and she seemed very surprised by that.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it was going against public opinion at that point, but they were wrong. And so
I mean, she wins after question 2.
Yeah, again, that wasn't much of a trivia, to be fair. But so she wins. She gets a mile head start. Basically, she gets to ride the first mile in a dune buggy. The problem is she gets there and then she's like, "Oh, I have to wait on the next person," which I think that's a fair way to do that because it evens it out a little bit more time-wise, but she's way more energized. Like, so it is still an advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she's not worn out.
She didn't have to run the first mile.
Yeah, she gets to just sit and rest and wait for the next person.
However, we'll see. She's not good at games. And so, basically, it's Connect 4, but there's like 7 or 8 rows, and you just got to get 4 in a row. But they called it Battle Ball. She's waiting on the first person to get there. Turbo's the first one to get there. He beats her right away.
Like immediately.
And so he takes off.
And by beating her, he gets to immediately take first place.
Yeah, and she can't leave until she beats someone. And so he takes off. Theo shows up, and they're going for a little bit, and then this is when Cara just kind of starts complaining. She said something along the lines of, "This is so stupid, just let me go," like to Theo, because she's like, "Oh, I was here first, just let me go." And then he's like, "Hey, isn't this 4 in a row right here?" And he's like, "Sorry," and he's out of there. All right,
so here's and TJ, we caught TJ earlier this season, right? Like calling her a complainer, right?
Yeah, he was telling everyone's name, and he's like, "Complainer."
I mean, like, this is just further, like, evidence of this turn with Cara. I don't remember her like doing this.
No,
go back to free agent. She had like some sort of. Did she have a broken bone or something?
She did something with her either wrist or her hand, and she was hurt. And she did a ton of eliminations and like still kept going.
Did she complain like this last season? I don't think so.
I mean, she complained a lot about Kyle last season. But yeah, it's it's weird. And someone, one of our patrons in our group chat on Slack, she was like, "Oh, Kara is an only child. That may be where a lot of this stuff comes from." And because again, when you're the only one, like you're not used to having to do stuff like sharing and waiting on other people and whatever. But it was a whiny turn, and this season especially is reminding me of that quote. It's like, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Oh, listen to you.
What is that from, though? Is that like Spider-Man 2?
Is that not from one of the Batman movies?
It might be. I don't remember. I'll look it up when we when you start talking. But
no, I gotta know now. What was that quote?
Okay, you either die a hero or you. Thanks. We hear all the typing. You live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
That was Aaron Eckhart, Dark Knight, Two-Face.
Okay.
Harvey Dent.
Yeah. I knew it was from one of the movies, but it's true. Like, that's the turn she's taken. I mean, she still has her fans.
Yeah.
But I would say any of them that are not your, quote, stan fans.
I know for a fact there's a lot of her fans on Twitter that have said that they have basically turned on her.
I would say I'm not going to go that far. I would say a lot of people watching that were fans of the show but not Kara stans have been very turned off by her the last season and a half or so, and just think it's more annoying now than anything.
Well, here's what's crazy about this whole deal is that so Theo obviously comes in, he beats her. Ninja comes in and beats her.
Yeah. And
by the time Wes comes in, and Wes is just a wreck at this point.
Yeah, he was out of it.
Did not look okay.
But there was this little segment, I think it was right after she had beat Wes, where she's talking about how, like, she's a role model again. She's talking about all the letters she got about how she inspired people from winning vendettas.
But this is the same person who says, "I'm not a role model. I don't claim to be. I never wanted to be." That's the part that people are getting annoyed by. It's just like, well, make up your mind one way or the other. Like, it's either one or the other. It's not. It can't be both and. Like that's the problem I've not currently, but I've had, is that like it's everyone is against her in the world in her mind, but she's only ever doing the right thing, and like she's never been hypocritical about stuff, and it comes across very not well to me. And we said again when we were about to interview Marie last season, I was like, if this season makes me a fan of Marie and not a fan of Kara anymore, I don't know what's going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
And it feels weird, almost like that was unintentional foreshadowing.
I mean, it's just kind of crazy how far it's gone in both directions. But she does beat Wes.
And he gets a 5-minute penalty for it.
Which I don't think he cared. I mean, he
just sat down and got the sand out of his shoes.
Yeah. Again, she, like, when he showed up, he's like, well, come beat me because apparently I can't win anything, and he didn't win, and so she beats Wes. He sits there, takes his 5-minute penalty. Turbo's the first person at the next station.
All right, so you're gonna have to explain this to me because I missed why he was able to just pass his food off. Well,
we missed part of it too, but I got the gist of it.
Okay.
Basically, this is a different take on an eating challenge. It's one that is actually good food. Like, it's stuff they would use. Like, it's protein-based stuff.
Like granola bars and coffee. And
yeah. Well, I think it was tea. I don't think it was coffee.
It looked like.
It may have
really
been
watered down coffee.
Again, we missed part of it, but basically they said, hey, you can eat whatever you want, and you divvy it up for the rest of the people since you're the first person here. If you want to eat stuff, you can. If you want to just keep going, you can. So if he's like, oh, I need a little bit more, like I need some sustenance in me because it's been a long time since they've eaten, he can do that. But he divvies up the food for everyone else, and whatever he puts for them, they have to eat all of it before they can go on. So like
he gets that privilege because he's first, right?
Yeah, because he was the first. Whoever was the first person there got to decide if they eat anything, and then what everyone else eats, and no one else can leave until they eat what the first person like determined that they have to.
Got it.
So it's a pretty good advantage, but Turbo played it pretty kind of like how you'd expect. Is like, I'm going to be nice to Kara and Ninja, give them less amount of food because Theo and Wes are obviously a lot bigger than them. And that's when our feed cut out for the second time.
All right.
And we got it back on just as like Kara and then we're starting to eat. And again, it was a different take on an eating challenge. Usually every other eating challenge I remember, it's been gross stuff.
And everybody has to eat everything.
Yeah. Like, it's been awful. And like, you have to eat everything or you have to eat until you do a certain task or something. But I mean, it was like a banana and like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and like not anything too bad.
I guess the thinking is like this final's already brutal enough, right?
Yeah, you can't have everyone throwing up.
Yeah.
Because you might like legitimately run into some health problems.
And there was at one point during this challenge, Ninja had mentioned that they hadn't even eaten in over 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's
wild.
That's why, like, we didn't see if Turbo actually ate or not because that's when it dropped out. But if he wanted to eat, like, it would have made sense for him to take something there just because they haven't eaten in a while. But
yeah,
they all were really excited at first, and then as they got going, they were like, "Oh, it's hard to eat this much." Even what Kara and Ninja had, like, they were struggling with it. So they go.
Wes, I think, struggled the most.
Wes was struggling like crazy.
He was struggle
for a
bus
while
the whole time
until the end.
This stretch is what lost him the final.
Absolutely, 100%.
I don't know. I think Turbo would have won regardless because, Jake, you probably have the time still from last week. Turbo was not far behind Wes to begin with.
So at the end of last week's episode, Wes was at 5 hours and 44 minutes and Turbo was at 5 hours and 58 minutes. So
yeah.
14 minutes.
Yeah, but Turbo was killing him in the running in the sand dunes. He made up his time right away in the food thing. I mean, Wes clearly went behind him right there, and then Wes was struggling to finish this.
He had to lay down.
Yeah.
Before he could finish.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that at the food thing.
He laid down and started making like sand angels, and he picked up the sand in his hand. He goes, "It's so sandy."
Yeah.
I thought he was going to pass out.
I thought he was going to
medically DQ'd.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get DQ'd for sure. So shout out to him for finishing. And by the way, making up a ton of time later on. But yeah, basically Turbo's in first at this point. Kara's in second. Theo's in third. Ninja's in fourth. Wes is in fifth. In this leg, not overall, but in this leg. And they get to the end of like the sand dunes. And Turbo finishes first.
Of course.
And there's
gallops his way to the pain locker.
Well, yeah, like he had his shoes off already.
He took his shoes off and then just started running.
He was running like a horse. And,
yeah.
Crosses the finish line and then realizes no one's there. And no one's, like, TJ's not there. No one's celebrating.
And then Theo gets there.
Well, Kara was next.
Oh, that's right. She was next.
Yeah, Kara was next.
And she was like, "It's over." And he goes, "Still have game."
Yeah. He was like, "No one's here to celebrate. It's not over." And then Theo shows up, same thing. And they're
still
like,
have challenge.
Yeah. And so finally Wes gets there. They get on the pain locker or the pain train, whatever. And then
Theo said that Wes apparently looks like, not Theo, Turbo said that Wes looks like his grandfather
before he died.
When he was sick and died.
Which... Again, Wes, this part, Wes was struggling. He made up a lot in this next leg.
Yeah.
At this point, they go to another thing where TJ's greeting them, and he's like, "Hey, this is it. This is your last leg. It's a 5-mile run, and then it's a kayak race." Did he say how long the kayak part was?
Just to the lighthouse.
Yeah, it was like
where the money is.
Yeah, you go to the shipwreck.
Well, he mentioned that he mentioned. Yeah, he mentioned. I don't know if you mentioned this already. That it was a 5-mile run to the kayaks.
I said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah, I said it's a 5-mile run first, and then kayaks, which we don't know how long it was, but it wasn't short. But I don't think it was like 5 miles or anything.
It was long enough that Wes was out in the middle of the ocean and said, "Where am I?"
He said, "Where do I go?" Yeah, because that's when Turbo started helping him. But then he's like, "There's going to be a form of a puzzle," but he didn't say what it was. And then he's like, oh, by the way, there's 5 of you, but there's only 4 kayaks. And so someone is getting purged immediately who doesn't get the kayak. And they're like, also, even if you're in first place overall, if you don't make this, you're done.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, crap.
No.
Especially for, like, Theo and, like, Turbo, who's been in the lead this whole second leg. You know, if they don't make it, like, it doesn't matter. They're purged. And so they do the 5-mile run. Did they get to where the kayaks are?
It's before, like, maybe a quarter of the mile.
Yeah, it's like right before where the kayaks are, they start having these, like, math problems. And that was an interesting take on how to do a puzzle, because I don't think I've ever seen them do something along that line before, where it's like, oh, this last quarter mile is going to be, what, like 20 signs worth of math problems?
I thought one of the greatest aspects of this final was how they took some of the most simple concepts and made them as brutal as possible. I mean, we're talking, I get there were bigger numbers here, but you're talking simple math. If you just stop and think, it's just simple math.
So yeah, we see what happens to that. So, like, Turbo and Theo get there, like, right around the same time. But Turbo immediately starts getting down in the dirt and writing his problems out, like, step by step, to make sure he's got the right number. Theo's just kind of walking like, oh, I got it, I get this. Turbo gets to the end, he gets his lock undone, because the last number you get after all the math problems is a 4-digit number, which unlocks an oar. And if you get that oar, you're able to go in your kayak. Turbo gets there, unlocks right away. Theo gets there.
Not right away.
Nothing. And he's like, oh, no, I think Theo actually got there first, now that I think about it. Theo got there first, and because Turbo was taking his time to ride it out in the sand, and Theo was like, hey, these pads are broken. These are broke. And then Turbo immediately opens the one behind him. And so Theo sits there, he's freaking out. Basically, when Wes gets there, he's like, I'm just taking my time. I am not going to rush. I'm going to walk. I'm not going to run through this part. I'm going to make sure I get my math right as we go along.
He said work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, he hit us with the Beta Blocks quote there.
Is that one of their quotes?
It's got to be.
You know, my dad says that a lot, actually.
He says your dad says it all the time.
Yeah.
We need to get your dad and Wes in the same room.
You know, that could be a possibility now.
Yeah.
But basically, Theo's struggling. Kara's struggling. Ninja's struggling on everything. But Wes is taking his time. He gets to the end.
He's a smart guy.
Pops his open right away. He's got the number. The number is 1012, like 1012.
What's funny is Theo is struggling, and he's like, come on, I know that this is the right answer. Mine must be broken.
Yeah.
And then Wes walks up, puts his in, and immediately opens it, and it's like, obviously not. Yours is not broken. You just...
Well, we said the same thing with Turbo. Yeah, it's the same situation. And so I think at this point, Theo kind of goes back to work through it again. He comes to the end. Basically, him and Kara are there at the same time. Neither one of them have the right number. I will say... we don't know what all of the full math problem was, but at one point, Kara was working, and I could see on her lock, it said 1022 instead of 1012.
She was that close.
Yeah, and so I don't know if like one of the last few problems was like subtract 10, because like I swear, unless like I was at this point we knew what the combination was. I was looking at her code, and you know how those rotary codes work, where it's like basically there's the main line, which is what you're trying to line up, but like it's still there's other combinations like going around it that aren't on the, I guess the, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know
what you're saying.
I don't know if she had it lined up in the correct place, but I swear on her thing it said 1022.
And you know what I wonder is with Theo, I wonder if he had it right the whole time, because he said he finally just like pressed it in and it unlocked.
Well, from what I got from that, he said he just started moving numbers and then it just clicked. And so my take on it was he was close, but had like 1 or 2 numbers off and just was like moving stuff around out of frustration. And like just so happened to click in the right combination.
Honestly, that's what I would have done. Like, if I knew I was, like, maybe a couple numbers off, like 1015.
But you don't know that at that point. The thing is, like, you don't know what the end combination is. You could have messed up something on the division or multiplication, like, halfway through.
Yeah.
So you don't know if you're anywhere close or not.
I don't know, but that's what I would have done. I would have just started moving, like, one dial at a time and, like, pulling to see if it opens.
You can, but that is such a mathematically not sound way to do it, because you move the whole right dial out of the 4 numbers, doesn't work. Then you start moving the whole left one, but now you've still got to move the right one at the same time, and it becomes this whole, like, there's like, I can't remember how to, like, extrapolate the combinations you'd have, but there's a ton of them, and he just got lucky. I think he legitimately just got very lucky that he happened to click in the right ones, which, by the way, I'm not taking anything away from him, because he deserved to be there. He killed this final so far.
Yeah, he did.
Honestly, he did amazing the whole season. I was extremely impressed with him.
So, Turbo's in first in the kayaks, Wes is in second, Ninja's in third, and that's what we were talking about. It comes down to Theo and Cara. She takes off to start walking back to try to do the math again, and he didn't have to do this, but he said, "Hey, I got it," and he just, like, let her know, like, I'm done.
So she didn't have to walk back,
Yeah,
and then come back and see that he's gone.
And so he takes off. She's eliminated. She is done. It's a hard final, the hardest final I think we've ever seen.
She starts crying.
She does. That's understandable.
Absolutely.
It was sad to see her, because they did, like, a wide shot where she's just standing on the beach, it just showed her from behind, and her whole posture, her demeanor, her body just seemed defeated and sad, and it, like, she was looking out.
Well, here's
on
what
the
had to be
as Theo is paddling away. It was sad.
I mean, what had to be even more frustrating for her is, like, she started with that advantage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Outside of getting some extra rest, like, didn't take advantage of it.
True, but that part's on her. Like,
yeah,
that's a game, like a strategy game, and she didn't do well in it. Like,
yeah,
she still got the advantage. Like, she got the same advantage anyone else would have gotten if they won the trivia.
Here's what was interesting about that whole segment, though, with getting to the kayaks, is that it wouldn't have mattered if she had the best time. Like, it didn't matter. It was who got those 4 canoes first. That was what was interesting about that.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of evening things out to where there were advantages, but at the same time, like, you still had to, like, do well in every phase.
Yeah.
And so basically Theo gets the 4th kayak. Turbo's first. Wes is coming across, and this is what Hannah was referring to earlier. He's kind of, like, turned around, is like, where do I go? And this is when Turbo starts yelling, like, hey, it's over here, and, like, trying to guide Wes where to go. And the producers were like...
No, before that, when Theo was still struggling with the padlock, Turbo turned around and he's like, I'm going to give you the last 2 numbers. And he, like, called it out. And Theo just, I guess he didn't pick up that he was giving him one number at a time.
He said 1, 2, and Theo goes 22. And but besides that, at this point, Turbo kind of helps Wes guide him over to where he's supposed to be. And the producers, like, when they're doing the interviews, they're like, hey, why do you keep helping your
opponents, your
competitors? And his quote was, I'll never say lie for money. And he's like, that's just my motto. I don't want to do anything dishonest when it comes to competing for money.
He did say one of my favorite things. I come into this game as a Leon, and I will finish this game as a Leon.
And ended it with not stay here like a chicken.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The chicken.
Which
thing.
didn't he call Hunter a chicken?
A chicken.
Yeah.
He did.
He said, you are not human. You are chicken.
When he's done competing on these reality shows, somebody needs to give him a songwriting gig.
I mean,
great.
Here's the thing. I mean, we'll get to it in a minute, but he's a millionaire in his country now. He said.
Well, I just needed to let it be known that he's a true gift, just to humanity, to the universe. Just incredible in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, so he gets there, Wes gets there, Theo or Ninja's next, and then Theo, and then it comes down to an all-out sprint. I don't remember exactly how far the sprint was, but TJ called it the Mad Dash. They all run at the same time, and then they'll tally up everyone's times from the last 2 days, and then determine who won. Obviously, Kara's out at this point. And by the way, we didn't talk about it. She said at one point she was retiring and didn't want to come back.
Yeah, she did.
And then she said she wasn't going to.
Well, and here's the other thing. So we've obviously mentioned a lot how Kara has turned into a complainer. It's kind of annoying. Ninja, before this portion of the when she pulled her kayak up to shore, she said in regards to Kara, I respect her, but she complains a whole lot.
Yes.
Yeah, she said that she and Kara are not the same kind of competitor.
Yeah.
Because of that.
And so speaking on that, which we haven't watched the reunions yet, obviously we don't know anything that's happened because we're spoiler free, but I did see where some people who were at the reunion said she was miserable the whole time at the reunions and made her part like a drag. Like everyone's there for 10, 12 hours filming for the reunion. Everyone's in the same spot. They said she was talking about how she didn't want to be there, like verbally telling people that, saying she hated the show, like the challenge and like all this stuff. And people are like, okay, we get it. Like it's a long day, but like this show is what's giving you everything. Like, why are you complaining about that? Like, I mean, also at the time she was not confirmed for season 34. But Polly and a lot of the other big names were, and so that's what a lot of people think played into it, was that she was mad about that. But
I don't know, but
it's just weird. It's like biting the hand that feeds.
We need a Netflix documentary on her sometime.
I don't think it would get watched very much, other than like, well, you know what? I said that just because the challenge doesn't have a huge draw compared to a lot of other big shows.
But Netflix documentaries are all over the place.
That's not my point. My point was going to be that her stan Twitter would just watch it on a loop all day long.
Yeah.
And then Netflix was like, wow, this is the biggest thing we've ever put out in the whole world.
Yeah.
You're really digging your own grave here.
For Jake's own, I guess, satisfaction, I thought it was interesting to see Thea was basically in first place this entire final. But the kayak thing put him in
the eating
last
thing.
place.
The eating thing put him 25 minutes back, Theo said.
Yeah.
He's like, I think the eating part put me about 25 minutes behind.
So, I mean, Jake, I'm sure you felt really good seeing him lose his first place so quickly and drastically.
I mean,
here's the thing is, I don't wish ill upon anyone. Listen, I've made myself clear that this guy rubbed me the wrong way in these tribunals. I don't understand the fascination he had with. It's like the opposite effect of what Kryptonite would have on Superman. It's like a
Viagra.
Yeah. And so, but I gotta say, man, you can't.
By the way, is Viagra the opposite of Kryptonite?
Yes.
Is it?
I don't know.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes.
I mean, it's not
Hold on,
scientifically
which one's
proven.
Viagra?
Viagra's the one that makes you.
Is that for your wiener?
It makes you a man.
No.
Okay.
What? No. Yeah, it's an erectile dysfunction thing. It's the one that is like, hey, if you've had an erection for longer than 4 hours, go to the hospital.
Oh, okay. Maybe. All right. Maybe his erection went down.
Great.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Here's the point. Here's the point I'm trying to make is you can't deny like the fact that this guy killed it this season, and
arguably one of the best pure athletes that's ever been on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at a legitimately Olympic level.
He's the first Olympian we've had on a normal season that's not like one of the charity ones. So it was interesting to see how well he did because of that.
In general, man, the whole rookie cast for the most part.
Yeah,
really did a number this year.
Well, the thing was, after Cara got eliminated, Wes was the only vet left in the final.
Yeah. I wrote that down. Wes was the only one standing at the end that wasn't a rookie. Like, other than a few duds, like, arguably and let's be fair, this cast was half rookies, which is not normally a thing.
Right.
But this rookie class has some really solid competitors that are going to be around for a while.
Which I'm perfectly fine with.
We're not going to get into season 34 cast. We might do that on a later episode because we typically, for season 33, we waited until there was an official announcement, even though we knew some of them. And we know some of them right now. That is about the only spoilers us as a podcast will look into because it does not affect anything game-wise. But down the road, we might do one about the cast for season 34. But I think we have a lot of hard hitters who will be around for a while.
Absolutely.
But basically, TJ is super pumped as everyone's running across the finish line. Like he
was so proud of everybody.
Yeah. I mean, he's cheering, and Turbo crosses the finish line, and he said, I made it a quote, "I can forget this pain, but I cannot forget this memory."
That's a chorus to his new hit, his single.
I know.
What's it called?
Forget the pain.
It had no
challenges.
No,
forget the pain. Parentheses. Remember the memories.
No. You're blowing it. It needs to incorporate chickens somehow.
Not a chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken pain, line memories.
Yeah, it needs chicken and lions in there somehow.
Yeah.
But, that's when I wrote Wes was the only veteran who finished. And then side note, in this commercial break was where we got the Derek Kay and Emily versus Darrell and Veronica Universal promo thing.
Most importantly, Devin was the host.
Devin Simone.
I was so excited to see her face again.
Yeah, I haven't seen her since her fling with a Big Easy.
Listen,
right?
She looks crazy amazing.
Jake, did you go watch the extended version?
I did not, but I am aware of who the black team were.
Okay, yeah, I tweeted it from our account because we went and watched it while we were waiting on you to get back home.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's and you know what? I knew that happened because I remember months ago seeing a group picture of all these people together in LA, and I was like, that's a weird group to just randomly get together.
Yeah.
Because someone saw them at a bar and they took some pictures with them. And I asked someone, I was like, hey, what's going on here? And they can't talk about it. And I was like, that's what I figured. So I didn't know what it was for, and it was so long ago that I forgot that it even happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's again, we won't spoil that. If you want to go watch it, we tweeted the link out to it on our Twitter, obviously. So
I think Stat Checker Paul will be very happy.
Oh yeah, he'll love it. He'll love it.
I thought I just wanted. Devin looks amazing.
She's a host of some other stuff.
I know.
Now. Yeah.
After her stint on the challenge, she started hosting a lot of shows on television. And I mean, she just looks better with age. It's like fine wine.
That's where she's good at. She's good at talking and being a personality. Not great at competitive stuff.
But I'm glad that they had her at being a former challenge competitor be the one to host it.
I think this little promo thing is going to really kick up a lot of interest in finally getting some
old school people.
Yeah,
Alton,
old school versus whatever.
Alton said he would love to come back.
He didn't quite say that. He said he didn't know if he would want to come back for a full season or not. But we just interviewed Frank. He had some things to say about Alton's last season, which were his words, not ours, because we weren't there.
Well, I would like at least Emily Schramm to come back.
I would love for everyone that was involved tonight to come back.
Even Veronica?
If Veronica would give it her all and not be what we saw last season, yes.
The last couple seasons? Yeah,
because Veronica just, like, the last few seasons, she's like, oh, I'm here to play a social game and whatever. And this season especially was really tough. So I don't think she could have stuck this one out. However, we won't get into all that. Basically, TJ's announcing the winners.
And it's based on their total time for the final.
Yeah, total time, not just what happened in the last leg or last two legs or whatever.
We didn't get times, did we?
We didn't
We did
get
not.
final times, but we did. At least we got a standing from halfway through, like day one.
Yeah.
And so he basically is like, Kara's gone. In fourth place with $0, Ninja. And, this is where...
You know what? Shout out to her, man.
I was about to...
Fourth place is still pretty good.
Fourth place for your first ever thing like this is great, especially in this final.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still give her a hand clap.
But she had a good attitude about it. She didn't win any money, and she was like, she did the kind of cheesy, this experience was worth $1 million.
But she was proud of herself for doing as well as she did this season.
Yeah, and she was picked as probably one of the biggest rookies coming in as like, oh, she should do really well, and I mean,
she did.
She did well. She finished the final. That was good. Third place, $50,000.
Well, hey, real
okay.
Quick. No, I just thought about this. I'll apologize because I'm the nice guy of this podcast. In case anybody was wondering,
I thought I was the nice one.
I think you just self-appointed yourself as that.
Hannah, you are the nice guy of this podcast. Here's the thing.
Thanks.
Because that was the question: could Ninja Natalie outdo Cara?
Well,
that was the big comparison going into this season.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and she did.
Technically.
She did. I mean, she beat her. If anything, Cara had basically this second leg. Cara had the most of an advantage. They had the same amount of food at the station. Turbo gave them identical foods. Cara got the Doom Buggy ride. She just couldn't beat anyone at the game other than Wes. And so anyway, TJ gets third place, $50,000. It's Wes.
And he was happy with that.
He was, and he even said on the helicopter ride on the way back, TJ was like, hey, $50,000 is nothing to sneeze at. And Wes said, I just like the medals. And, again, it's obviously not $200,000 or $750,000. But, Wes took years away to, just focus on, being a businessman and then get married. Yeah, and,
So he said the $50,000 would take his new wife on a very nice honeymoon that she very much deserved.
Which they did. They were somewhere down in Mexico in one of those places where your room is like a self-floating cabin where the floor is kind of see-through.
I've always wanted to go to those.
Where the fish are swimming underneath you and you have your little
me
hot
too.
tub.
That'd be a good trip for me to. Yeah, that'd be a good trip to bring me along.
Well, you should ask Wes about that.
No, I'll go with Wes.
Okay.
Okay.
He gets $50,000. This is the big one. I had a feeling it was going to be Theo in second, and then that's what he announces. Theo's happy. He wasn't mad about anything. And by the way,
he got $200,000.
He did get $200,000, but he tried to hug Wes whenever Wes finally crossed the finish line, as just kind of like a show of good sportsmanship. And Wes kind of did it, and then he just bent over, and he's like, I need to lay down.
He told him, he was like, we'll do this later.
Jake, I know you have your problems with him. I didn't mind Theo. Completely, top to bottom, I liked him as a competitor. He gives pretty good interviews. He's a great athlete. I have no problems with him.
Hey, man, take the tribunal fetish away. I don't have any problems.
I don't think that's that right word right there. But
no, I think it fits.
My thing is, there were a couple times where, Jake, I could see your point of view where, he kind of maybe rubbed you the wrong way. But for the most part, in general, aside from all of that, I think he was a great addition to this season. He just, good Lord, the legs on that man. It's like he ran all that, and he still didn't look very tired.
Oh, he's probably feeling it, though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He said he had huge blisters that, sand was going down in and stuff. So, again, shout out to Theo. Everyone who finished, it's amazing that anyone finished looking back on this final compared to the last few.
So, as an official announcement, Turbo, my personal hero, got first place in his very first challenge, beat all the vets. Arguably the hardest season that the show has ever seen. won
hardest finale for sure.
$750,000 prize. He said it's a lot of money in his country, so he's basically a millionaire.
I think he said in his country he is a millionaire.
Yeah. He is so happy. He was grinning from ear to ear. I've never seen such a sweet and pure human being be so elated.
I don't see how anyone can have a problem with him winning. I'm sure there will be people who are mad.
But there was nobody more deserving. There was something that I caught him saying earlier on in tonight's episode about him trying to be an example for other people watching at home. He said you can go from being really poor and living on the streets. If you push yourself and chase after your dreams, you'll make it.
He also said, when I was 15, this was my dream job, and now I have my dream job.
So, okay, that $750,000 translated into Turkish money is it's basically the equivalent of almost $5 million.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know their cost of living over there, but obviously it's not the same as what's in the U.S. But yeah, it's a ton of money. I mean, it's a lot of money in general. Like, only one other season has anyone won anywhere close to that, and that was Cara. And by the way, did you hear, like,
I thought she won $750,000
yeah,
on the
but
last solo.
She got, like, right before she was eliminated, she said something in, like, an interview of, as the only single winner of this show, I don't want this to go to anyone else or, like, to go to any other country or something like that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess, but at the same time, that's kind of a strange thing to say. But
nobody deserved it more than Turbo.
I mean, going into this, I was like, I want Turbo or Wes to win. Obviously, we've been fans of Wes for a long time. Turbo, I think, has probably become the quickest fan favorite of anyone I've ever seen on the show.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. An amazing human
Theo
being.
winning, I would have been completely fine with because he really did kill the final. But again, it was Turbo. I haven't seen on Twitter because basically anyone that has the word "stan" in their title or whatever, I just go ahead. I go ahead and mute them. It doesn't matter who you're stan of. I typically just have you muted because a lot of times they tweet spoilers too, and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe this person got dragged so hard in an upcoming episode." And I was like, I don't want to see that. Yeah. And I don't see how anyone can be upset with Turbo winning. I personally don't. The only person he got in a fight with
was Hunter.
And
Hunter picked the fight.
Hunter did, and then technically, I guess Ninja and D, but that was them that started that.
They started it and then continued it.
Yeah, and they're cool with each other now.
I know. I'm glad that they're cool with each other because I didn't like Ninja for a while, but after tonight's episode, pretty okay with her. I still love Dee very much. I think she's wonderful. She needs to come back and do more seasons so we get to see more of her. Hopefully get to do another interview with her, catch up.
We'll get into some cast stuff for 34.
I will say it, like, personally hurt me to know that Turbo and Dee were in a fight. But I'm glad that they are good and cool and past it.
I know for sure Ninja went and stayed with Turbo in Turkey, and so they're good now. But again, I legitimately can't think of someone who played hard, played
smart,
really straightforward, was good at basically every facet of the game.
No lying,
and then on top of that was helping other people out. Other than maybe
the
Maddie.
opposite of lying. Giving people pointers in the middle of a challenge.
In the middle of the thing for $750,000. So it's a big win. It's a huge thing for him, and obviously we hope to see him back.
I'd give anything to see him come back.
Yeah, and I tweeted out from our account when we were done. I was like, what a season. Because, I mean, it top to bottom, other than one elimination, and a couple like really nitpicky stuff, like we have problems with like not showing times and things like that. This season was great.
I mean, by far and away, the best one in the past, 4 or 5 years at least.
Probably since like free agents or something, man.
Yeah, they really. I think they just got back to simplifying it, right? Like there was no real complex sort of deal to this. You had to change up with everything starting with teams.
And there wasn't like secretive, like, oh, these people are still really around, and here's a twist, and here's another twist, and here's another twist. I will say they might have pushed it a little too far in how hard it was in the finale.
Yeah, I felt really bad for everybody
and
competing. I almost felt like some of them almost died.
I never thought I would say that. Now, to be clear, I enjoyed watching this finale a whole lot.
This is the direction we want it to go.
But in the future, they might want to think about spacing it out a little bit more or not making it quite as brutal, because then you run into like player safety stuff. But again, as a whole, other than the horrible Charid remains elimination, great season top to bottom.
Who was, what was his name that came back?
The producer?
Yeah.
Justin Booth.
Justin Booth. I think because he had been gone for so long, and this was his first season back producing after all these lame producers beforehand that just kind of let it more like as a game and less of like an actual endurance physical challenge of a show. I think he wanted to come in swinging.
Oh, he did. And I think
to make a point.
He swung hard.
And knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. I legitimately think this is going to be probably in the top 5 of whole seasons for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know how it couldn't be especially for like how the show was trending and how it was like radically turned around like that.
A lot of people had left.
And we got a lot of good people in. We got some old faces back, like Wes and some Anani, some ones that hadn't been around for a while. And I think that trend is going to maybe start pushing some older ones to like, oh, I might can still do this and whatever. But Wes especially, like, he's like, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life. Like he trained to get back to this state.
He
so
did.
Again, I think great season overall. But let's get into our superlatives for the night, unless you have something else to add to that, Jake.
I don't, but I think there's only one direction to go for each superlative.
I didn't even write mine down because I figured we would kind of have a unanimous thing.
Yeah.
So who smashed some heads?
Turbo.
Absolutely.
That's who it is.
Nobody can take that away from him.
Yeah. The only other one you could get, if you want to get a little bit more meta and abstract about it, you can say Justin Booth did, because
Justin Booth smashed the viewers' heads, the cast heads.
He showed
TJ's head.
How crappy the last few finales were, essentially.
100%.
And so I agree, though. I'm not going to give that to him. We say Turbo all the way and lock it in. So who got their head smashed?
Cara.
Yeah.
At the kayaks. That was what did it.
Yeah. And I think it
like her watching Theo take the last kayak into the ocean. I think that's what did it.
Yeah.
It was like it hurt me to watch.
Yeah, and again, like this was supposed to be her and Polly were supposed to both cross the finish line and like all this stuff that obviously didn't play out the way they thought it was going to. And so it'll be interesting going forward. Again, she's not going anywhere. She said she was going to retire and then immediately took that back. And again, the reason apparently why she was not pleasant to be around at the finale was because she wasn't confirmed for 34. But they did just leave yesterday, I believe.
Oh,
so
wow.
we don't have a full list yet of who's confirmed. But again, I think.
Well, hey, what?
Okay, what?
We both just stopped.
I stopped because you jumped in. You're like, what?
Is that what I did?
Yeah.
You did.
Listen, no, I was just going to give you the opportunity because we've all done it, right? Like there's been a lot of Cara slander.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't know if anybody wanted the opportunity to say something nice and to gain the stands back.
First of all, I don't think we could say anything that would do that.
God.
Second of all, I listen. Obviously, it's very good for our show to want to have anyone and everyone on our show. But like, I'm not gonna not say what I feel about people. Like again, we had Polly on, and I've been very critical of Polly, but I was able to talk with him about
kind
it.
of friends.
Yeah, again, I have way more like respect.
Oh, we are definitely friends.
But like what I'm saying is like I'm not going to start censoring my opinions because when we started this show, we said, hey, we're fans. We're not
production
company. We're not MTV putting out a podcast about their show trying to be like a fair take to everyone or whatever. Like we're going to say our opinions on things. And like if you've listened to us since the beginning, we all were fans of Cara. Before Final Reckoning started, we all gave our list and we were like, hey, she's all in our top 5. And, you know, it's been a turn this last 2 seasons.
But, I mean, if she's going to be on next season, I think Polly is definitely going to be on next season.
We weren't going to talk about any of that yet.
I don't know. Because we have smoothed things over with Polly, we're kind of friends with him. Maybe, you know, getting past all of this for this season, she might turn the corner again next season. We may come back and be the fans that we were 3 years ago of her.
Not even, no. We did not start this podcast 3 years ago. It was like 9 months ago.
I know, but 3 years ago we were really big fans.
Yeah,
of
I mean,
hers.
going back to like what Jake was saying, you know, it just seems like it's just a completely different mindset than what was on like, you know, free agents or things like that.
Like she used to legitimately be my number one person on this show.
Hey, you know what though?
No.
Go on.
She looks great.
Good.
She does. She looks amazing.
She
Her
looks
makeup
great.
has like really reached new levels.
Jake, what do you think
nobody
about, Jake,
I
nobody
can't
can
even
look.
touch it.
Jake, what do you think about her nail beds?
Listen, she's got good nail beds, and it's not fair.
I don't know about her nail beds, but I will say nobody can look like Cara looks at the end of a final and be as gorgeous as she is. Am I right?
Yeah.
Don't you disparage Wes like that, you jerk.
Hey, don't you get me started.
He looked not good.
Hey, don't you start on it either.
Speaking of who looked great, did you see Hunter's head of hair at the end of all that?
Why do you bring this up all the time?
I don't understand why I can't say nice things about him.
By the way, real quick side note, I am getting on my phone right now because out of all freaking people, Nelly T, the needy greedy, he tweeted, "Am I watching the challenge Survival of the Senior Citizens or question mark hashtag Universal Orlando?" He got the hashtag in there, and I quoted it and I was like, "Don't you dare!" Like, of all the people,
they would smoke him in a final.
Some of them would for sure. Like
Darrell.
I think Darrell's
Emily.
up there. Emily, Derek K, Alton. Like again, but anyway,
Evan.
super fun
What a
season.
jab.
We might come back later and do like our takes as a whole, favorite things from this season, whatever. But next week we'll be back with part 1 of the finale.
And here's a little tease, right? Is we got a little someone joining us to review the reunions.
If everything works out how we're planning, we have someone from the show who was not on this season that's going to be watching the reunions with us and then talking about them, and we'll do an interview with them as well. But yeah, that's
the only difference is we won't be recording the night of.
Yeah, it just for scheduling reasons, we'll have to do it at a later day. But we are going to do recaps of the reunion as they happen, and I think it is going to be a fun way to just kind of do more than just a normal recap, is to get someone who's been on the show, their thoughts, their takes on some things. And I don't want to say yet who it is, but it'll be someone you'll want to hear from. It's not anybody we've interviewed so far. That's a little bit more of a tease too.
I think it's going to make for some really fun conversation.
I hope so.
I'm legitimately excited about it.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's someone who is used to talking, and so they're not shy, and we will probably get a lot out of it. But let's get into the very last thing for the night. We didn't mean to do it this way, Jake, when you started the years of the movies, but we're ending on 2019 at the last finale, like the part 2 of the finale.
Well, speaking of movies, I just watched a movie with my mom and my stepdad called The Prodigy. It's about this little kid. You just got to watch it. But it centers around a little kid.
I don't think I want to.
All right. Well, anyway, I guess you could call me a prodigy because I knew when I came up with this plan that this was going to fall exactly like this. And so shout out to me, right?
Yeah. I just looked up the poster for The Prodigy, and I'm definitely not watching it.
Han, do you want to watch it?
No, absolutely not.
Doesn't he have like a skull painted on him?
It's like
half of his face.
Yeah, it's like half, like the Misfit skull or whatever.
There's a little twist to it you wouldn't expect. You may want to check it out, Zach.
Yeah, not gonna do that. But Jake, do you want to go first for your movie?
I thought we were picking the same movie.
Well, you can go for it. So before we pick the same movie, I figured one of you guys was going to go in this direction, which I'm fine with. But if we're able to pick a movie we haven't seen yet that's coming out in 2019,
I think I wrote it down.
I'm picking Hobbs and Shaw.
I wrote that down.
Oh, God,
I wrote that down.
Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw because it's going to be the best movie I've seen in my whole life.
Okay, here's the thing. For the movie, I wrote 2019 Endgame, and then I wrote in parentheses, but we haven't seen Dark Phoenix yet.
It's not going to be as good as Endgame.
And then I kept scrolling to see other movies that were coming out in 2019. It said Hobbs and Shaw, and so I wrote next to that, for Zach, it's Hobbs and Shaw already. I knew that he wouldn't write Endgame, and
Jake,
so I just already knew that was going to be his pick for this
I'm
this
fine.
week.
We decided before we started recording, we're going to pick Endgame because shout out to Neens. We talked with her on our Patreon exclusive podcast right after she had seen it, and we talked off mic and about it for a while.
She strongly advised us to pick Endgame as our 2019
but Zach
movie
is
recommendation.
Hobbs and
Listen,
Shaw.
I'm fine with picking it if we only are picking movies we've seen because Endgame was great.
But this is supposed to be top movie for 2019. Our top movie for 2019.
I think I can confidently say
Hobbs and Shaw.
that Hobbs and Shaw is going to be my pick for 2019. Jake, we're going to go
All right,
see
well,
that
I'll
on
give you
opening
another
night.
one. Oh, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, Jake, they don't even use guns because they got rid of their guns. They have to use clubs and stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for it. That trailer was probably the most entertaining trailer I've ever watched.
Yeah.
I thought Zach was going to jump out of his seat in the middle of Endgame premiere at 6 p.m.
I'd already seen that trailer too. That's how great it was. But yeah, go on.
The movie, if we're doing anticipated movies here, I'm here for It Chapter 2.
Yeah, that's not going to be. That's going to be a not up there.
We're going to veto that. It's not going to be better than Endgame for sure.
I don't think it'll be better than Endgame.
You're not coming to see it with me? Neither of you guys?
It's not going to be better than Hobbs and Shaw, that's for sure. So, all right.
Album for 2019.
No, not album for 2019. High school album of the week because I stick to our format.
I don't have enough albums.
Listen, here's mine. It's the one that started it all for me with this band. I still listen to it all throughout high school. My favorite band of all time. Brand new. Your Favorite Weapon. It's a pop punk album that they did. Like their first album ever. I heard the song Jude Law and a Semester Abroad. And I was like, whatever this band is, I love it. I saw it on Yahoo Music back in the day. And because their name was so generic, I couldn't remember what they were called because their name was Brand New. And when you just Google Brand New Music, especially back in 2002, nothing comes up.
Yep.
But anyway, that was the first song I heard from them. And then I found out what the album was not long after that. And they've been my favorite band ever since then. So that's my pick.
Han?
Mine, because I don't have as many albums. I don't just have this infinite pool to pull from. I just started doing
We went to high school for the same amount of years.
I I've just picked an album from 2019. Arguably, I think one of the top albums for this year already. Thank You Next, Ariana Grande. It is bumping. I really like it.
More like Thank You Next on that suggestion. Am I right?
No, you even listened to some of the songs with me in the car, and you liked them.
I legitimately would not know any of the words other than the chorus.
What about the one Girlfriend? Because she pulled that the bridge from Girlfriend.
Jake, go.
The Girlfriend from NSYNC.
Jake, go.
Wasn't that? Oh, that was NSYNC.
Yeah.
Hey,
it was NSYNC's song Girlfriend.
JoJo.
I think I've already picked it like a long time ago.
You know, what if we have like a theme where like we have to pick a movie that also has, and then an album that also has a song featured in that movie?
Ugh.
You could pick JoJo and then go with the movie RV.
I just watched that movie.
That's a good movie.
It's a fun one. I love Robin Williams. So
yeah, he did a really good job in that movie.
I love Robin Williams too. All right, so what's your album, Jake?
You know what? Really brought back a lot of memories tonight watching this episode. I got to go with Linkin Park's Meteor.
That's fine.
Yes, absolutely. Do you not remember how good that album was?
Yeah, so we're at the point of the podcast that we run into every week where Hannah just leaves in the middle of it.
I have to blow my nose so bad. I've been trying to hold it for 15 minutes, rubbing my nose, getting snot all over the back of my hand. You have to let me go at some point.
Did you sit there while she rubbed her snot on the back of her hand?
You know, I wasn't privy to that information, but it's just become a routine at this point. Me and you still have stuff to talk about, and then she's gone. But
what a world!
What a world! If you're here with us still, this episode probably got up a little bit later than normal, but again, we're recording remotely, and so it is. I
feel like it's gonna go up earlier than normal.
No, I'm gonna have to edit through some things just because our internet connection's not great here. I'm afraid it's gonna drift a little bit.
Oh no!
But again, we wanted to be able to record the night of after we watched it and get something up like we typically do. So this obviously is not our normal like studio setting, but you know,
it's weird. I don't like doing this.
It's way harder. We've only done this one other time.
I like to be able to look at you guys.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you can just like non-verbally like. We kind of decide who's going to go next, who's going to jump in next, and like the rest of us can kind of take a break and know that we can get some like thoughts together or whatever. We tried to do this with the Marie interview, and you had some issues with there.
Well, and I specifically like to be able to give one of you two my special Brad Bug Eyes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
A lot of times when we do this, like when we're recording. Me and you have a lot of little things that we laugh at that no one else knows what's happening because something else happens. But
not much laughter tonight.
Well, it's
I didn't feel like we were very funny tonight.
You know, we may not have been.
This is the funniest moment.
I guess so. But at the same time, there's not much we could do. Initially, when we booked this vacation, this season should have been done by now. And when we got the kind of schedule to be done, this was supposed to be part one of the the reunion, not the finale. And for some reason that changed, which, you know, I wish they would do just like a 2-hour finale instead of breaking it up into different parts. But it's not the way it went, and there's nothing we can do about that. Again, we may do with what we did. I brought my hard drive and our headphones and all this other stuff with us, and so we had to do what we had to do, and, you know, we're getting it out there and getting it done.
It's been fun. What a ride.
What a ride.
It's sad it's over.
Well, it's not over. The podcast isn't done.
Oh, we're not disbanding?
Yeah, no, we're not. You threatened to quit earlier, but we'll see.
Well, and I just may.
Okay. Well, again... we'll be back next week with Reunion Part 1, but we it may be not the night it premieres just because we have a special guest. We're working with their schedule. So if you want to say your signature line.
As always, and I sincerely mean this every time I say it, have a good night, everyone.